and welcome to HRD TV. My name's Jess Bell and I'm the news editor for HRD Australia. Today I'm joined by Kim Seeling Smith, founder and CEO at Ignite Global, which has been awarded HRD's 5-Star Learning and Development Award. Hi Kim, firstly congratulations and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Jess. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad to be here.
Now, we know the workplace has changed vastly as a result of the global pandemic, and the phrase "the future of work" has been used a lot. But what do you think the phrase "the future of work" really means, and how has that changed as a result of the pandemic?
Yeah, the future of work has almost become synonymous now with remote or hybrid work, but it's actually so much more than that. And the future of work, it's become kind of a thing since we went into the original lockdown when COVID hit in March of 2020. But the future of work has actually been building over the last couple of decades. And when I work with my clients, I like to talk about the 3 disruptions that are really informing the future of work. And the first of those disruptions is technology. We've seen the buildup of technology specifically in the last 20 years. And with, the World Economic Forum suggesting that up to 50% of roles can be automated by 2025, the roles that we have within our organizations are having to be reshaped. So that's the first disruption, is how technology is impacting our roles. And then there's the second disruption, which I like to call the tension between globalization and localization. And that's really manifesting in a couple of different ways. We see geopolitical changes, we see economic changes, we certainly see environmental changes. Now, this is going to cause us to rethink how we shape our organizational structures, because we're going to have to pivot. I know everybody hates that word, but it's true. We're going to have to solve some really critical questions, and we're going to have to make some decisions based on little or conflicting information and be able to change our course when that's wrong. So that's really requiring us to shape our organizations differently, to be more agile and more innovative. And then finally, there's the third disruption, which I like to call the rise of the empowered workforce. There are more jobs and there are candidates to fill them. And we can blame border closures for this, but honestly, there are a number of factors that extend beyond border closures that is causing this disparate situation between the demand for talent and the supply of talent. And again, that's not going to change for the next probably 10 years or so. So that's requiring us to rethink how we attract, engage, and retain our staff. So the future of work is really all-encompassing, and it informs not only our workforce and our workplace, but a lot of elements of society.
It sounds like there's a huge amount to tackle there. What are some key learnings for HR leaders then in tackling some of these big issues?
I like to, my initials are KSS, and I think that I come by them naturally because I'm a keep it simple kind of girl. And I like to talk about 5 key things. And the first of those 5 is purpose and values. Especially with the Gen Ys and the millennials, people want to work for a company that has a direct impact on the world. And we're seeing that more and more. 2020 was about doing what we had to do to survive. 2021 is about doing what we want to do. And we're reevaluating our priorities through 2021 and into 2022. And as a result of that, we're deciding what kind of organizations we want to align with. So a purposeful organization is very, very important, but also an organization that has a strong set of values that they can use to make decisions, to hire, to let people go, hold them accountable for performance. So that's the top thing that I would talk about. The second key factor, I think, is that we have to learn to make decisions. I talked about these 3 disruptions and how we're in just an ever-changing, very fast-moving world. And so we're going to have to learn to make decisions given very little or conflicting information, and to be able to pivot, to rethink those decisions when they're proved to be wrong. The third thing is having open, honest, transparent communication structures. We've seen this through COVID. More communication does not go astray. We've seen engagement rise as a result of senior leaders and managers speaking more to their staff directly. And we need to continue this trend. We need to open up the kimono, if we will, and to be more transparent, to take people along on the journey. I once heard Marcus Buckingham say that people don't fear change, but they loathe uncertainty. So as HR practitioners and as line managers, we need to give them as much certainty as we can. And then the fourth key thing that I talk about is having managers that prioritize their team over their day job. Back in the 80s and 90s, we went through a tremendous cost-cutting exercise, and we eliminated one whole layer of management. And as a result of that, we've asked our managers to do more with less, and we're paying for it now. We see critically high disengagement scores. We've seen more employee turnover this year than in years past, certainly, and it just looks like it's going to have to continue. So we really have to emphasize our team. And then finally, we have to be willing and we have to be bold enough to reimagine our old school people practices. A lot of the way that we hire and retain our staff was actually developed in the Industrial Revolution for a very, very different workforce in a very, very different age. So we need to think differently about these things, and we need to question everything. Make sure that what we're doing is actually right, is actually catering to that empowered workforce, because they have the control, because they have the options.
And moving on to the award that you guys won, 5-star learning and development. Just tell us a little bit about your core services and products and what you offer, and why Ignite Global has stood out from the crowd.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I have to say, I was totally surprised about this award. I know it's a new award. I hadn't heard anything about it. And when I was notified, I was thrilled. I was absolutely, you could have knocked me over with a feather. So I'm very, very humbled by this. What we do at Ignite Global is, I like to think of it as an overarching umbrella, if you will, with two practical pillars that sit underneath. And the overarching umbrella is really the future of work. So we do a lot of consulting and senior executive, senior leadership facilitations around the future of work, helping organizations move from disruptible to indestructible. We also are developing a future of work gap analysis. We hope that that's available to people by the end of October. And then there are the two practical pillars. So I work across the entire employee life cycle, and I have a team of consultants that specialize in very specific areas around culture change, around leadership development. But everything that we do really falls in these two very practical pillars. And the first one is how to attract and select the right people. 44% of Australian hiring managers are not satisfied with their last hire. We put a lot of emphasis on training leaders to be better leaders or managers, but very little emphasis on helping them with what I think is one of the most critical skills, and that's how to make sure that you hire the best person. So we have consulting and training around the hiring system. We call it the spot-on hiring system. It's a proprietary model that I've developed. Based on my 15 years as a recruitment consultant. And then the other aspect of what we do in the practical area is employee engagement and retention. I was a recruitment consultant prior to founding Ignite Global in 2009. And during that time, I interviewed over 5,000 people. And I like to say that 5,000 people walked through my door and told me why they wanted to leave their job. Well, as you know, their manager, really. And I reverse engineered those 5,000 reasons into a model that I call the 9 currencies of choice. And we built a suite of programs around those 9 currencies of choice. Our flagship program is called Mind Reading for Managers, which is truly the only solution that you need for a highly engaged, highly motivated, profitable, and productive workforce. So that's a little bit about what we do.
And we've covered some really big issues facing the HR world at the moment. Tell me about the future then of learning and development. Where do you think the industry is going next?
I think it's really exciting because I think that we truly have the opportunity to reimagine learning and development. We know that talking heads, just delivering content, is not the best way to embed behavioral change. My instructional design team, the woman who runs that, has a mantra that I've developed that says, without behavioral change, there is no training. So nobody wants to spend good money to train their line managers or their staff on things that are not embedded. So we need to recognize that learning is different. People have a very short attention span in this information age where information is just coming at us faster than we can process it. So we need to develop, I think, a very diverse suite of offerings. And we need to develop programs that encompass learning, that encompass doing. The 70-20-10 rule is still very, very applicable, but I think that we need to reimagine how we do it. So learning from videos or reading or lectures, and then applying it on the job, as well as mentoring and coaching. And I think as much experiential learning that we can bring into it, the better it will be, the more it will land. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is AI. I'm hosting the Learning and Development Conference for Key Media in December, which I'm thrilled about. And I can't wait to see the new evolution of AI in the learning and development space, in the training space. Because 2 years ago, when I attended the conference, I was wowed by some of the things that some organizations are doing. So I'm looking forward to the update 2 years on.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much for joining me, and congratulations again on the brilliant award.
Thank you so much, Jess. I really appreciate it. Thanks for interviewing me.
And thank you to everybody who's watching. This has been HRD TV.